Today that the United States and Israel are playing for keeps, and they're just getting started, finding and striking targets progressively deeper inside Iran. Meanwhile, Israel issuing evacuation warnings in Lebanon.
The conflict between Iran and Western allies appears to be entering a more dangerous phase, according to U.S. officials. Military operations involving the United States and Israel are intensifying, with strikes reportedly targeting locations deeper inside Iranian territory. These developments suggest that what began as regional tension may now be evolving into a wider strategic confrontation, raising concerns across the Middle East and among international security organizations. At the same time, the ripple effects of this escalation are spreading beyond Iran's borders, affecting neighboring countries and diplomatic missions across the region.
Ahead of further attacks on Hezbollah, NATO intercepting an Iranian missile that was heading for Turkey. Jillian Turner live at the State Department with all the very latest on the war. Jillian.
Good morning to you, John. There are more than a dozen.
As tensions intensify, multiple countries are now preparing for the possibility that the conflict could spread beyond Iran. Israeli authorities have issued evacuation warnings in parts of Lebanon, signaling fears that militant groups aligned with Iran could become directly involved. Meanwhile, NATO forces reportedly intercepted a missile believed to be launched from Iran that was heading toward Turkish territory, an incident that highlights the growing risk of the conflict drawing in NATO members and expanding into a wider regional crisis. Security analysts warn that even isolated incidents like these can quickly escalate if retaliation follows.
Embassies in the Middle East that have been closed physically because of the threat from Iranian militias. But now what we are seeing develop, worrying.
One of the most immediate consequences of the rising tension is the impact on diplomatic operations. More than a dozen U.S. embassies across the Middle East have been forced to shut down physical operations due to security threats linked to Iranian-backed militias. Officials say some diplomatic missions are not only closing their doors to the public, but are also suspending remote operations, meaning basic services such as visa processing, passport assistance, and documentation support are temporarily unavailable. The move underscores the growing concern that diplomatic facilities could become targets if the conflict continues to escalate.
Evacuation orders, and fortunately, no diplomats in the area or their staff were injured at the time. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Americans in the region right now.
The security risks facing diplomatic missions are no longer theoretical. According to reports, the American Consulate in Dubai recently came under threat when enemy fire struck near the facility. Fortunately, no diplomats or staff members were injured, but the incident illustrates just how volatile the environment has become. For U.S. officials, it is a reminder that diplomatic outposts, traditionally protected spaces for international relations, can quickly become vulnerable in times of geopolitical conflict.
Make contact with the State Department.
We need to know where you are. We need to have contact information for Americans that need assistance. They have to register with us.
With the situation growing increasingly unpredictable, U.S. officials are urging American citizens across the Middle East to take immediate precautions. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called on Americans in the region to register their location with the State Department. Officials say this information is critical for coordinating emergency assistance, evacuation efforts, and real-time security alerts. Without registration, authorities warn, it becomes far more difficult for the government to locate and assist citizens if conditions deteriorate rapidly.
Rides are underway, organized by the State Department. They are leaving from the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Bahrain this morning.
We have identified and continue to identify charter flights, military flight options, and expanded commercial flight options, meaning working with the airlines to send bigger airplanes with more seats.
U.S. diplomatic outposts have become direct military targets now for the IRGC. The U.S.
Behind the scenes, large-scale evacuation planning is already underway. The U.S. State Department has begun organizing charter flights, military transport options, and expanded commercial flights to help Americans leave the region safely. Officials say these operations are departing from several locations, including the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Bahrain. To increase capacity, airlines are reportedly sending larger aircraft capable of carrying more passengers, while while military transport planes remain on standby for emergency evacuations if needed.
U.S. Embassy in Riyadh was as well hit by 2 drones yesterday. Some Americans who are stuck say they are not waiting around for American government help.
Rather than wait for the U.S. flight, we're just...
Security officials warn that diplomatic facilities themselves are increasingly becoming targets. Reports indicate that Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, may be linked to attacks against American outposts. One of the most alarming incidents involved the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, which was reportedly struck by 2 drones. Although the full extent of the damage remains unclear, the attack highlights the escalating risks facing American personnel and infrastructure in the region.
Oman, Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, everywhere is getting attacked.
Okay, 2 key things we're being asked to emphasize.
For many civilians, the growing instability has already become a personal crisis. Some Americans in the Middle East say they are not waiting for official evacuation programs and are attempting to leave the region on their own. With reports of attacks across several countries, many fear that the situation could deteriorate further without warning. The uncertainty has created a sense of urgency among travelers, expatriates, and diplomatic staff alike.
Register with step.state.gov to get security alerts in real time, but this is crucial. If you are an American who wants help getting out of the region today, you must call the State Department and make initial contact with them. They will work directly with you. That number should be on your screen. It's +1 202 501 4444. That's what you call from overseas. They will help you right away. John.
Yeah, you've got to get registered so that they know that.
As the situation across the Middle East continues to evolve, officials stress that communication with the State Department remains essential. Americans currently in the region are being urged to register for security alerts and maintain direct contact with U.S. authorities. These measures allow the government to track where citizens are located and provide immediate assistance if evacuations or emergency operations become necessary. With embassies closing, attacks targeting diplomatic sites, and military tensions rising, the coming days could prove critical in determining whether this crisis stabilizes or escalates further.